I was asleep in my bedroom until something woke me up. A tapping sound on my window. I rubbed my eyes and looked over at the window across from my bed. Everything was a bit blurry at first, and I tried to focus. I remembered that I had my flashlight in my side table on the left side of my bed, so I went to get it. I turned the light on and shined it at the window, but I saw nothing. I shined the light around my bedroom, and still nothing. I then decided it must have been some tree limbs hitting the house outside, or I was just hearing things that weren't worth any trouble. I stayed awake for about a half hour, then slowly I drifted back to sleep. I snapped out of my sleep to the sound of tapping once again. This time it was a bit louder. I was a little made and too tired to feel like dealing with whatever the sound was. I got out of my bed and made my way over to my window. I stopped a few inches away from the window as I noticed a stranger standing outside my window looking directly at me. He stood there in my backyard. He wore a white hoodie that seemed to be stained in some red substance of liquid that seemed to be seemed like blood. His pants were black, his shoes black and white. I was about to yell at him to get off my property, but then I noticed something strange about this person. His eyes were unbelievably large, with dark circles around them. His cheeks were cut in an awkward way, like by a knife or something, forming a hideous smile from cheek to cheek. I began to think that this had to be a mask, and that this guy was up to breaking into my house. There was one way someone would walk around like that. Wouldn't they need to get to a hospital? I reached over to my bed to get my flashlight so I can get a better look at this person's face. But by the time I picked it up and made my way back over to the window, he was gone. Am I going crazy? I thought to myself. I began to panic. I shined the light from corner to corner of my bedroom, fearing that the smiley-faced freak might pop out of nowhere. Or somewhere. After about an hour of panic, I started to think I was just seeing things. If that person was real, he would have done something by now. I peeked outside one last time to still find nothing there. I then decided to try to sleep again. I laid back down and stared into the dark of my room at the shadows cast on the walls and floor. I fought with my thoughts, a part of me telling I really saw someone, and another telling me I need to rest, and that it was nothing. I laid back, placing my head on my pillow, then I closed my eyes. I immediately rose up, grabbing my flashlight from the tabletop by my bed and shined it at the window. I sat there paralyzed in fear. The person that I thought couldn't be real was real. He stood in my window, staring at me through my window with his hands on the glass with a knife in one hand. His skin, pale face, and his eyes so big it didn't look real. His smile, with teeth showing, made my heart race like crazy. I blinked as I sat there in fear, trying to hope that I was just seeing things that wasn't really real. But it never went that way. It stayed there looking at me. In a panic, I threw my sheet over my head and laid there as quietly as I could. At this point, I wasn't sure about what to do. I was too afraid to move or do anything. For a while, it was silent, and I couldn't hear anything. But go to sleep. A voice whispers in the dark at me. It said, "Go to sleep." I was trying to earlier, but how could I sleep at this moment? Was this just another bad dream? The whispers were getting closer and closer as I laid in bed, trembling in fear. I took in a breath, then let it out. I had to see if this person or figment of my imagination was close to me. I peeked out of my bedsheet and paused. I laid there with half of my face sticking out, my eyes on the intruder, standing next to my bed with a large, ugly smile on his face. He just stood there looking at me. His eyes were never blinking. His chest rose up and down as he breathed quietly. He then raised his right hand up, which he held a sharp steel knife. He then yanked my covers off of me, and I looked over at my cell phone on the charger, wishing I had contacted someone earlier or texted for help. "Get out of my room!" I yelled at him. His head tilted slightly to his right, as his eyes were locked on me. Shit. This person was insane. I could see that his face was actually his real face and not a mask. This couldn't be real, I thought as I laid there, moving upward in my bed. He then got up on my bed and came at me with his knife. I kicked and punched, but he lunged at me, placing one hand over my mouth and saying, "Shush." He was stronger than I am, and the more I fought, the more he laughed. I grabbed his arm as he had one pale hand on my throat. I looked up as he raised his knife and said 3 words that sent chills down my spine. "Go to sleep." The knife came down, hitting me in my chest. I yelled and I hit him. He laughed like crazy at me as my blood sprayed everywhere. I felt the warmth of it running down my arms and legs. He then got off my bed and ran, grabbing my computer chair and throwing it through the window, breaking the glass. He laughed as he leaped out, escaping my house, disappearing into the night. I covered my wound as I grabbed my cell with bloody hands and dialed 911. About the time the operator answered my phone, my world went black. I could hear the woman calling out to me, but I couldn't do anything.
Sir, are you okay? Sir, hello? Hello?